If you want to rank at the top of Google and YouTube and even AI tools like ChatGPT, you need topical authority. But most people try to build it using outdated SEO strategies that haven't worked for about a decade. They focus on keywords, backlinks, optimizing content, hoping the algorithm will reward them. But search has changed. Today's search engines are trying to answer questions, not just match keywords. And that means the strategy for becoming the authority in your niche is completely changed. So in this episode, I'm going to show you how to build topical authority using content clusters and how to identify the exact topics that you should dominate. And you'll see how this strategy can position you so that whenever somebody searches for answers in your niche, they find you over and over again. Okay, so how do we build topical authority using content clusters? My entire strategy is built around this concept. But if you come from the world of traditional SEO, then you and I think very differently about topic selection. People trained in classic SEO, you're going to need a bit of a paradigm shift to understand how topical authority works in what I call the AEO era, Answer Engine Optimization. Now, I actually used to run a service back a decade ago that helped get websites ranked on the top of Google. I had a website SEO service. But starting in the year 2013, I noticed the game was changing. Google was quietly shifting from a website search engine to a content search engine, and now we call that an answer engine. Now, traditional SEO, it was built around websites. The focus was website authority, link building, metadata, and putting keywords into as many places as possible. But that model just doesn't work anymore. It hasn't for a long time. Search engines stopped paying attention to keywords the way that they used to. So it doesn't matter how many times a keyword appears in your article. It doesn't matter how many times you mention it in your video. People aren't searching by keywords anymore. They're asking questions. Modern search engines from Google to YouTube to ChatGPT, they're much better at pairing a user's question with the answer to that question. They match those together. So today, optimizing content doesn't happen after the content is created. It happens before you create it. Answer engine optimization means identifying the questions that people are asking and then creating the best possible answers for those questions. That means doing question research. It means identifying the branches within your industry and then doing a competitive analysis so you know which branches you can realistically dominate first. If you can be seen as the topical authority on a subject, you can rank at the top of all the indexed search engines. You can show up on YouTube, you can show up on Google, and increasingly now you can show up on the top of tools like ChatGPT. Imagine what that'll do for your business. So businesses that still rely on classic keyword SEO thinking, they often struggle to get any rankings or any views today because they're optimizing for something that is no longer a priority. So now let's talk about content clusters. That phrase is a phrase back from the days of SEO. So I personally don't spend much time distinguishing between a content cluster or a topic cluster. Those are just the terms that people are familiar with. So instead, I like to think about this using a tree analogy. Imagine your industry as a tree, and we give the trunk of the tree that label, your industry, and then every major category in your industry is a branch. Sometimes those branches divide into smaller branches. Now, on each branch are the leaves, and the leaves represent questions, specifically worded questions that your dream clients are asking online. The goal for you in your research is to find a branch where the leaves represent questions that your target audience is actually asking and that align with your core area of expertise. Some branches are small, maybe they only have 2 or 3 questions. Other branches are large and have dozens, even hundreds of questions attached to them. Now, the bigger the branch, the more opportunity you have to dominate it and the more valuable that branch becomes. So this leads to what I call branch domination or category domination. It's all about identifying a branch within your industry and then systematically answering every meaningful question on that branch. So to do this, I start with a competitive analysis. I look at all the different questions associated with that branch, and then I study which competitors currently appear on YouTube or Google in the search results for those questions. Then when I have clarity on that competitive landscape, I can map out a strategy that allows me to create content answering those questions and eventually show up across the entire branch. I push my competitors down. So over time, the goal is simple. When somebody is asking a question on that branch, they find you, not just once, but again and again. Let me show you what this looks like specifically on YouTube. It's the easiest to show you. So if you come to YouTube right now and you type in this question, notice Reagan Archibald ranking at the top, right below all the shorts. Or what about if you type in this question, you find Reagan ranking right at the top. And I'm just going to go through a lot of examples. With this question, there's Reagan. Here's another example. Reagan's at the top. Here's another example with Reagan. Here's another example at the top, and another one, and another one, and another one below the shorts, and another one where he owns the top 3 spaces. I call anything in the top 3 ranking at the top. And here's another one. Now I could keep going. He ranks at the top of YouTube, Google, and ChatGPT for hundreds of questions like this. Now, Reagan is a men's health and peptides expert, and I don't know any of this stuff, but one of those peptides, I guess, is called tesamorelin. This is the tesamorelin branch. Look at all the questions about it, okay? And look at each one of these columns. We started April back in 2025, and he did not rank at the top of any of them. I put a yes if he ranks in the top 3. I put starting if we can scroll down but still find him in the top 20. And I put a no if he doesn't have any ranking. So back in April of 25, we see 100% no's. You can see the filming dates. You can see that we started to launch some of these episodes in May and June. And you can see as we get into June and July, we started to get some yeses. We launched a lot more content as we got into August, September, and October. So as you look at the spreadsheet from September, October, November, and December, we got more and more yeses to where he was dominating 40 out of 45. So hopefully you can see how tactical and how precise that is, and it makes things way predictable. If you look at how people used to approach SEO titles, they often look something like this. Tesamorelin, the underground fat-melting peptide Hollywood insiders don't want you to know about. It sounds great, maybe it's exciting and entertaining, maybe it'll catch people's attention, but it's not going to work as a thought leadership piece of content. It's not going to show up for people that are searching for it. That video is not going to rank at the top of search for tesamorelin like the videos I just showed you. What about this one? The tesamorelin revolution, how this little known peptide is rewriting the rules of anti-aging and body transformation. Now, Reagan's subscribers would probably love that video. They would watch it. This video might get way more views than these other videos, but if you're not showing up in search, then you're not positioning yourself in front of new people who've never heard of you before. Your video is just nurturing your tribe. It's not marketing your business. Let's try one more. Tesamorelin breakthrough, the science behind the peptide that's turning back the clock on stubborn belly fat. So the same thing, that video might get way more views, but it's not going to generate leads because it's not being shown to new people. Those types of titles will still work if your goal is entertainment, if you're trying to build a channel like Mr. Beast. But if your goal is to become a thought leader and dominate your category, the strategy is different. You need to stop being creative and start being tactical. Now, I talked about this in a previous episode. I'll link to it right up here, where I explain the difference between creating content as an artist versus creating content as a part of a strategic plan. Thought leadership content isn't based on inspiration. It's based on question research and strategic execution. You identify the questions your audience is asking, and then you create the best answers to those questions. As you keep going, the outcome of this strategy is very powerful. When you answer 50 to 100 questions within a specific branch, then something interesting starts to happen. Anytime anyone asks a question related to that topic, they see you everywhere. They see you on YouTube, they see you on Google, and increasingly they're seeing your content on tools like ChatGPT or Perplexity. So at this point, you're no longer creating content. You've established topical authority. You've become the person associated with that subject. So if you want to use this strategy to become the recognized authority in your category, then the next step is understanding how topical authority turns into category dominance. So in another episode, I break down exactly what the strategy is for achieving category dominance and how you can implement it in your own business. So if you're serious about becoming the recognized authority in your space, then watch the video called Achieve Category Dominance. I'll see you there.